You were trained to be emotional, but not to be strong. Modern culture has drilled into you the idea that sensitive man is a virtue, when in fact it has become the new synonym for predictability and emotional weakness. What seems like emotional freedom is actually the new invisible shackle of the modern man. Consider the contradiction. The more men show themselves, the more they lose value. The more they explain what they feel, the less they are understood. Does it seem unfair? It is, but it is true. In the trenches of real life, the one who leads is not the one who feels the most. It is the one who controls the most. You don't see Julius Caesar writing letters of relief. You don't see Napoleon begging for answers. And even the great seducers, like Casanova or Don Juan, never handed their inner world over on a silver platter. Because they knew that mystery is the oxygen of desire, and silence is the language of power. The uncomfortable truth is, sensitivity sold to men is not about connection. It is about exposed emotional vulnerability. A feast for those who know how to exploit it. Imagine this. You cry, you open up, you try to be transparent. She says she admires you, but hours later you're losing interest, respect evaporates, and you don't understand why. The answer lies at the root of human seduction, and of power in any relationship. Being too understood makes you predictable. And predictability is the death of emotional tension. What she can't read, she wants to decipher. What she fully understands, she discards. This is the hidden mechanics that no one has told you about. And don't think that this is coldness. It's an emotional strategy. You're not here to live trapped in a loop of emotional expressiveness that only weakens you. You're here to dominate, to create presence, not neediness. When Nietzsche said, "What is done for love is beyond good and evil," he wasn't romanticizing surrender. He was showing how much human beings justify emotional weaknesses in the name of supposed affection, when in fact, they're just being led. The overly emotional man is like an open book thrown in the middle of the street. Maybe someone reads it, but no one keeps it. Now understand, this is not a call to insensitivity. It is an invitation to mastery. To feel everything and control everything. To have the heart of a poet and the mind of a strategist. Because true power is not in shouting what you feel, it is in those who can feel without ever losing their form. And it is precisely on this battlefield, invisible, silent, but devastating, that most men lose the war without even knowing it has begun. Because the most lethal weapon that exists today against masculinity is not physical or verbal. It is emotional, and worse, it is disguised as intimacy, connection, dialogue. The war is fought from within, and it begins in what we call the reaction cycle. This cycle is treacherous because it disguises itself as sincerity. It works like this. You feel something: fear, insecurity, rejection. You react impulsively. You send a message, demand attention, seek a response. Your reaction reveals dependence, anxiety, need. The other side notices this, and now the one in control is no longer you. It is the one who observed you reacting. The emotional reaction is the signature of your weakness, and the woman who feels that she is affecting you begins to test you. This is where the real psychological game begins. Because she will not destroy you with screams, she will disarm you with subtle gestures, a sudden emotional withdrawal, a compliment to another man in front of you, a disappearance that has no justification. And you, trapped in this cycle, start to react again, with anger, with doubt, with need. What you don't realize is that with each new reaction, you are not regaining space. You are giving up even more territory. While you try to explain what you feel, she watches. While you seek logic, she applies emotion. While you demand definition, she creates ambiguity. You are playing chess with trembling fingers, and the one who trembles loses. Always. The emotional reaction turns you into an easy piece to move on the board. You stop being a man and become an emotional variable. And don't think that she does this with malice. Many times, it is instinctive. Human beings test the limits of others, and when the other has no limits, respect disappears. There is no admiration for those who bend to any pressure. You think you are being honest. She feels that you're being predictable. You think you are fighting for love. She realizes that you are struggling not to be abandoned. In this scenario, the opaque man is born. The one who doesn't react like others, who doesn't respond immediately, who feels everything, but expresses little. He is the pause between the offense and the response. He is the silence between doubt and movement. He observes, analyzes, calculates, and then acts with coldness, elegance, and control. This man doesn't compete for attention. He attracts her because he refuses to be easily read. This opacity is not the absence of emotion. It is emotional mastery. It is a magnetic field built by the absence of desperation. The woman who can't predict you begins to ask herself who you are, and in that question, she begins to desire you. Because where there is doubt, there is tension. And where there is tension, desire is born. Predictability is the graveyard of attraction. Deep down, most men don't lose women because they lack beauty or money. They lose them because they are too emotionally transparent, too available, too reactive. They are torn books, loose pages, obvious predictions. And the worst part? They try to solve this by explaining themselves, exposing themselves even more, as if the solution to a leak was to open the tap wider. But you are no longer in this game. You are no longer that man. Because now you understand. As long as you react, you will be manipulated. As long as you react, you will be read. As long as you react, you will be serving the emotional script of someone who only needs one thing, for you to continue being weak enough to try to justify yourself. But your new version no longer plays that game. It creates a new one. And it is in the next chapter that you will understand how this man moves. Not to win back, but to rewrite the rules. You don't need to win anyone back. Because true power is not in chasing after them, it's in knowing how to disappear. But not just any disappearance, not the dramatic kind, not the kind that cries in silence waiting to be noticed. I'm talking about a calculated disappearance. Cold, strategic, almost surgical. And it's in this movement that the new masculine posture is born. A man who doesn't explain, doesn't react, doesn't justify himself, he just withdraws. And in the vacuum he leaves, the world around him begins to reorganize itself. This new posture is silent, but never invisible. It is perceived in the look that doesn't seek approval, in the touch that doesn't beg for reciprocity, in the presence that doesn't force space, but imposes atmosphere. The man who embodies it doesn't need the last word, because he's already won in the first act. He's not the most aggressive, but he is the most dangerous. Because no one knows what he's going to do. No one knows what he feels. And in this vacuum, fascination arises. And here comes the element that no one expects. The true peak of emotional dominance is not in the absence of emotion. It is in the ability to feel everything and still keep playing the game. This man does feel. He feels pain, desire, doubt, but instead of reacting, he overflows this in the construction of himself. Pain becomes elegant silence. Desire becomes discipline. Doubt becomes movement. Now, what few realize is that this new posture is not born only from rational effort. Many times it emerges from a collapse, a trauma, a rupture, a betrayal so brutal that it silences the man inside. And in this silence, he rebuilds himself. Not as someone who has overcome, but as someone who has evolved. He does not return to being what he was. He becomes another entity, a post-pain man. A man who died once and now, reborn, no longer plays. This is the surprise that few see. The most emotionally dangerous man is the one who has already been destroyed and rebuilt his structure with emotional steel. He is not afraid of losing, because he has already lost everything and survived. He doesn't beg, because he's already begged and tasted the bitter taste of humiliation. He doesn't get attached, because he's already been trapped in attachment and learned that freedom costs loneliness, but it's paid for with pleasure. And when this man reappears on the scene, he doesn't try to prove anything. His evolution is as silent as the impact he causes. He enters a room and changes the mood. He doesn't seek validation. He provokes insecurity. He doesn't compete with other men, because his only comparison is with the weak version he killed within himself. This is the real turning point. The man who is reborn from emotional loss of control doesn't become colder. He becomes hotter, but selectively. More intense, but calibrated. More present, but unattainable. And in this brutal balance between feeling everything and reacting to nothing, he assumes the control that most only dream of having. Because in the end, the woman who truly desires a man doesn't want the one she controls. She wants the one she doesn't know how to decipher. The one she feels but doesn't hold. The one she touches but doesn't shape. The one she desires and fears losing. This is the man who doesn't seek to win the game. He changes the board. And in doing so, he transforms desire into emotional submission without ever raising his voice. So listen to this carefully. The world doesn't need more emotional men trying to be understood. It needs men who have mastered their own inner storm and learned to navigate the chaos with silence and fortitude. Mastering your emotions isn't about suppressing what you feel. It's about channeling what you feel into decisions that no one can predict, but everyone respects. Because in the end, true power isn't in being loved, it's in being remembered. And the man who masters himself is impossible to forget.